While a partner cheating might seem like the most obvious betrayal in a relationship, there are actually many ways we can feel let down or deceived in different types of relationships. Maybe your mom didn't tell you about your dad's cancer until the very end, or maybe your partner lied about money or something in their past. Or maybe you just found out that your so called best friend has been telling everyone things you told them in confidence. Whether it's cheating, lying, or being let down in another way, the big question, of course, is can I ever trust this person again? Can this relationship be repaired? The answer lies in three big areas, which we'll talk about today. And by the end, you'll be able to answer this question for yourself. So stay tuned. Well, I'm so glad you're back with me. Hello, Dr. Abby Medcalf here, which you already know. That's why you're listening. So we're going to get right into it today because this is such a great topic that, again, many of you wrote in about. Oh, you can write in questions to Abby at abbymedcalf.com, and you can comment under a video, or you can DM me on social media, any of those things. But remember, I do not give direct advice. I love you so much. I don't have the time, number one. Do you know how many thousands of you are listening? Tens of thousands? I don't have time to answer direct questions, and not to mention it's highly unethical. Anyone who would do that in that frame that's not ethical. I don't know what else to say because, I don't know if you've had sexual abuse in your past and you're asking me a different question. And I mean, there's so many variables that could affect what an answer could be. So, but if you want to know, and you want to give me 2 sentences about something, that's it, people. I also can't read 5 paragraphs. I do not have time. And I want to answer your questions. I want to, in a obviously more general way, but I really want to get to what you think is important. So please, just 1 or 2 sentences with what you're with a question you really want answered. And we'll get to that. All right. So there's a big 3. All right, let's start right there. There are 3 areas to take into consideration when you're wondering if you can heal a relationship after a significant betrayal. The person who betrayed you, the state of your relationship before the betrayal, and who you are in this situation. I'm going to go through all 3 and what you should be looking at and thinking about and talking about. And then, and before I even jump in there, I want to remind you that all this is lovely that I'm about to say today, but if you're not mindful, if you're not in your moments noticing what's happening, your reactions, their reactions, if you can't get any perspective on the situation, it's going to be very hard no matter what I tell you to do or what I suggest or how I tell you it's a good way to approach. So if you have not downloaded my free mindfulness starter kit yet, I do not know what you are waiting for. It's purposefully free and wonderful. There's nothing you have to buy or anything else. But you have to start working on your mindfulness for anything I teach, really. And I talk about mindfulness all the time. So if you've been here with me any length of time, my voice sounds funky, doesn't it? I'm gonna have some water. Why do I sound froggy? I just started. What's going on? Okay. So I'm just going to say that. Download it, gosh darn it, and just do what I say. Really wish I could control every single person listening right now. But I can't, alas. Okay. But I've done podcast episodes on that if you're controlling too. All right. So the first thing you need to look at on these 3 areas is the person who betrayed you, right? So the other person. And let me just say this. So we all have different personality traits and personal ways of being in the world. And so from this perspective, if you think of that, everyone's different. Everyone has their own thing. Cheating, lying, deceiving you in some way can relate to something like an addictive personality or an impulsive or compulsive disposition that this person has. Could be related to a sense of entitlement, right, with the world. It could be due to a dysfunctional upbringing, and this is what they think is normal, that you talk about people you love to other people. In my family growing up, there was a lot of what we call triangle communication. So if I wanted my mom to know something, I would tell my sister, right? And then she would tell my mom, and all this indirect communication. So, if you share something with a friend, they might then go tell another friend because they just think that's normal. That's what you do. They're not seeing it as a betrayal. And obviously, it definitely relates, no matter what, to a huge lack of self-awareness and likely some sort of low emotional intelligence, what we call your EQ, right? And I've done episodes on how to deal with people with low emotional intelligence, low EQs, so you can go back and listen. As always, I will link to every single episode I talk about, every past episode where you could get more information. They will all be linked on the website, abbymedcalf.com. There's a relationship tips and tools page where a full blog is written for every single episode, where all the links are and where you can take notes. You can copy and paste from there if you're just listening and, just want to absorb the information. It's all right there for you because I love you. It's not a transcript. It's an actual article I wrote about it. There's more here always in the episode because I'm talking in a bigger way, but and also if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be below the video. So you can just click on all the links. Have yourself go down an Abby Medcalf rabbit hole. Have yourself a party. Okay. So here are the areas you want to look at when it comes to this other person, right? So that's our first area, this other person. First and foremost, before we get anywhere else, is did they sincerely apologize? Apologies, when done right, I have to tell you, I see them as having literally almost a magical power. They diffuse, they neutralize anger, resentment, when you get that full head of steam going, it's really gone pretty quickly. It creates an immediate emotional connection where there was, animosity and hurt, just 2 minutes before. I'm not saying an apology can undo something hurtful. Of course not. But when done right, it can greatly minimize the negative effects of those actions and help your relationship move forward. And I have an entire episode on how to apologize the right way, so to speak, and why it's so hard to apologize. But and there's actually research that shows that an apology affects the person receiving it physically. So that's why it feels better when someone really apologizes to you in a real way. Your blood pressure decreases, your breathing becomes steadier, as your heart rate slows. And this is really huge, I think, because it means that their apology turns off your fight, flight, freeze, brain and turns on your compassionate, loving brain so you can have, some real dialogues about things. And if they've apologized, quote unquote, correctly, because you will feel different. And, if you're, and I'm just going to use a few different examples all the time, but even if a partner cheated, let's say, and they truly apologize, you can feel that they're right there with you. It needs some other pieces, not just the apology, but this is the first thing. You do feel different in a moment. And I think with most things in life, if someone would just own what they did, in my experience, again, I've got 40 years of doing this with so many different kinds of people, I can't even tell you. I have found that people are very quick to forgive when something feels authentic, when they're just seen and heard, yeah, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I betrayed you like that. I'm not going to make any excuses. I feel terrible. Something real, as opposed to excuses and things. Actually, I'll talk about that in a minute. So that's one. Did you get a real apology? Are they willing to take some self-reflective action, right? So an apology is nice. So I don't just mean, I had this recently where a man cheated on his partner, his girlfriend, and it was at work with a work person. And so he actually quit that job. Well, he didn't quit the job. Sorry. He asked to be moved to another office, and he was. So he's moved to a whole different location in a different city. And as his hub. And so, but he was trying to tell my client, he was kind of like, well, I changed jobs. I'm never going to see this person again. So you don't have anything to worry about. That is not an apology, number one. And that is not self-reflective action. That is, I'm going to try a quick fix here to get out of this. That's what that is. So I'm not saying this boyfriend wasn't inconvenienced and didn't have to change some things. That's great, but it doesn't take care of the real issue. And so that's why when those kinds of things have happened again, or if someone, your best friend told someone else something you said in confidence and they say, oh, I'll just never do that again. It doesn't feel like enough, right? It doesn't quite get you there. And that because it has to be more, it has to be self-reflective. It has to be the person really owning what they did. Like, oh my gosh, you're my best friend. I can't believe I did that. Of course, I was not thinking at the time, or even if they said, you know what, in my family growing up, it was so normal. I didn't realize it, like I knew it intellectually, but clearly I didn't know it deeper, that it's not okay to tell your confidence. Of course it's not. I'm so sorry. I can't believe, like, I would feel so hurt if you did that to me. Of course it was wrong. That feels different, self-reflective. They have maybe a little bit of an aha moment about it. Then I'm just not going to go at this. I'm not going to be at this job anymore where this person is. And by the way, if they're still working at the same company or in the same field, you're going to worry that they're going to run into them anyway. So it's not like that takes care of everything. Another thing to look at when it comes to the other person is, if this has happened before, what are they planning to do differently this time? A lot of times with betrayals, maybe with your, one of your parents, like not listening when you share something. It feels like a betrayal. They ask you how you are, you try to really tell them some things that are going on with you, and then they ignore you, dismiss it, minimize it, something like that, and then get mad at you for not sharing in the future or something. You really want to see more. You really want to see, like, okay, you've done this before. Now what's going to be different next time? What's going to change? And really, are they seeing this as a wake-up call? My very favorite thing to happen, which I've had people come to me who betrayed someone, who cheated on their partner or did something like that, like really lied at work or, something kind of significant. And it's caused them to go, oh my God, I need to go to therapy. What is going on? Like, how did I get here that I say I'm an honest person and yet I was doing these things? How did I ever rationalize in my head that it was okay to do X, Y, or Z? That they themselves, it wasn't because someone forced them to come. It wasn't because, they were mandated by work or whatever. They came out of their own, like, want of being better. That is someone who you can really repair a relationship with, because they're becoming a different person in the process, right? I kind of think of like my drug addiction was a horrible thing, and I lied to so many people, and I did horrible things, as I've shared before, when I was using. But once I truly got better, really in recovery and really changing my life, I became a different person. What I valued shifted, honesty shifted, all these different things shifted. So I was able to have trusting relationships again with people I had lied to. I mean, just looked them right in the eye and just lied. And it didn't happen overnight, but over time, you can feel when something has really shifted. You really can get a feel for that. I share the research all the time from Timothy Wilson about how our conscious brains process information at a rate of 40 bits per second, while our unconscious or subconscious brains process information at a rate of 11 million bits per second. So when we really know, when we are able to follow our gut, you can really tell that someone has shifted something. Something's different here. Something is maybe you don't trust them completely yet, but you're starting to really feel like you at least can have a dialogue. The other thing I want you to think about, sorry if I'm coughing, I'll have another sip of water. I have no idea. I swear I was talking fine until I started to record. What is that, Murphy's Law? That's somebody's law. Anyway. So again, in regards to the other person, are they acting defensively or are they acting with openness? Just that. Of course, people get a little defensive when they've done something wrong because they're so full of shame, or when they've done something that hurt you in such a big way, even if they don't get that it's wrong yet, because they're full of shame. And defensiveness comes with that, but that shouldn't stay. That shouldn't still be there, right? Even if it was a first response, try to move through that if you can. Um, because they really can, again, like you have an aha moment after. If they say they take responsibility, how are they showing that? I don't know. People say, well, I take responsibility. I take full responsibility, Abby. What does that mean? Talking the talk means nothing to me. I need you to walk the walk. What are you doing to take responsibility? Not what are you saying to take responsibility? What are you doing to take responsibility? That is something in all areas of your life to really pay attention to. And with yourself, by the way, you might tell someone, oh, I take responsibility for that, but what are you doing? Right? Okay. Is there an aha moment they can articulate? And can they express any aha moments about what happened? This is what's important, that don't involve you or other excuses. Oh, well, we hadn't had sex in 6 months, or, well, you never expressly said I needed to keep what you shared a secret, or I was having a really hard time when I did that. No. I don't want to hear any of that. There shouldn't be even a whiff of some sort of justification or rationale or anything else. If you ask, again, an explanation can feel different. That's an explanation does not involve blame of anyone else. And it involves, again, introspection, self-reflection. So again, after a real apology, after taking real action, to say maybe then, wow, I realized that used to happen in my family all the time. And so that's why I did that thing. It's crazy to me. That's different, as opposed to right in the moment, like, well, my family did that, and that, even just the tone I'm using is different, right? I had a dysfunctional childhood, so stuff like this is going to happen. That's no. Do you see the difference though? So it needs to be something that's really a true aha moment. If the person who betrayed you doesn't remember what happened or can't say why they did what they did at all, they're letting you know they're profoundly unself-aware, and they need to work on this in a very direct, very clear, prioritized way. They, again, need to take some real action to become more self-aware and less maybe impulsive or whatever's happening, for you to trust them moving forward. I've got lots of episodes that I will link to on the website, again, and all the places, about how to increase your self-awareness and how to work 4 ways to be more self-aware, that kind of stuff. There's plenty of great exercises. In my books, I have chapters on self-awareness. I mean, self-awareness is really important. By the way, the workbook for the Boundaries Made Easy book, it should be out in December of 2024. So from when I'm recording this, in just a few months. So before the holidays, I hope, we'll have the workbook out for, I know, I'm really excited, for the Boundaries Made Easy book that is just going like gangbusters. If you haven't bought it yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. It's a change your life book. If you don't want to buy a book, if you are just like, no, thank you, everything pretty much I say in the book, I mean, not everything, but a lot of what I say in the book, a lot, is for free on my website. If you want to go digging and you want to look up the keywords and go do all that, be my guest. That's why it's there. That's why I write everything up, so you can have it. The book and the workbook to me are for people who want a little more hand-holding, who really want me to, put it all into one place and walk you, here, I'm holding your hand, A to B to C to D. That's who the books are for, and the workbooks. But if you're one of those people who's like, I can figure this stuff out on my own if I just have the information, by all means, go find the stuff for free on my website. There's no secret here. I don't do anything sleazy or weird. There's nothing weird going on. Please do it. Either way, but really, you gotta work on this. And I'll talk about it more, I'm sure, as I move on. But okay, so that's number one. You're the other person. The second piece, right? These three keys, the other person, the relationship, and you. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the relationship. And we need to talk about the relationship before the betrayal or before you're really noticing it. And when I say what I'm about to say, do not come for me, because I in no way mean that it's your fault if your partner cheated or if your best friend lied to you about the fact that he was talking, crap about you behind your back. It is not your fault. What I do want to say is that in any adult relationship, there's a way the relationship had been going where there were warning signs or issues that brought you all to this place. So there was maybe poor communication, there was prolonged fighting or conflict, there was disconnection, maybe you were leading separate lives, maybe there was a lot of passive aggressiveness in the relationship, maybe there was nagging or criticizing or huge codependency, right? Or other unhealthy ways of being in the relationship. It could also be that you never even had a conflict and everything was always great, because that's a problem too. Of course, everything's not always great. Like, that's impossible. It means you weren't discussing difficult topics and issues were going underground. That's how people go do. I mean, that's one story I hear sometimes. Someone will say to me, no, we were so great, and then he cheated. And I'm like, you can't be that great and someone cheated. There's something you're missing, which, again, you are not to blame, but it means you're not understanding what maybe a really healthy relationship, quote unquote, should look like. Again, I'm not blaming you if you missed these signs or whatever. And I'm not saying that, everyone can know for sure that someone's cheating. That's ridiculous, right? But if you're so blindsided, then there's something going on, by whatever it is, whatever betrayal might have happened. Then there's something that you weren't maybe listening to your gut. You weren't really thinking something through. And again, in my experience, it's because things were kind of like too good and the person was really romantic and whatever and saying all the right things. And you guys weren't, when we argue with someone, when we have big disagreements and then we work through them, that's how we build trust. You don't build trust by just everything's great all the time. It's the same way like success. Success is built on failure, right? Nobody has only success and no failures. That's impossible. You lose money on something. Before you had that big payoff. You tried to go to the gym 40 times before you finally started going consistently, whatever. That's just how it is. And that's how it is in relationships. When we're talking about betrayals with partners or friends, I often notice signs also of trauma bonding. And I did an entire episode on trauma bonding. I will link to it, but let me just say quickly here that trauma bonding is basically, it's a dysfunctional attachment you have in that relationship. Trauma bonding, it gets hardwired. So it literally lives in your nervous system, it's like a hijacking of your brain. Okay. So because of your particular childhood, your brain has made neural associations between love and some unhealthy behavior. And you end up with people who aren't the best fit for you, but you don't feel like you can let them go, right? Because they feel like the right fit in the discomfort. You're comfortable in it, even though you don't like a lot of it. Does that make sense? Because it's, again, from your childhood. And so trauma bonding, again, I want to say, doesn't mean you're bonding with another person over some shared trauma. That is not what it is. It speaks to to a bond that a survivor of some kind of dysfunction feels towards another person who likely has their own dysfunction. And those two lovely dysfunctions kind of dovetail perfectly together. It's interesting to me in any of the people I work with and have over the years that often the good parts kind of dovetail nicely, sort of flush together in a beautiful way, but the bad parts do too. The dysfunction also has a way that it plays off each other. And that's where we get into trouble. So I need you, you're looking at the other person, you're asking yourself all those questions, and then I need you to look at the relationship. I want you to think about how you co-create every relationship you're in. I need you to think about how you co-created this relationship and where it stood before this event or stream of events. Is there something solid there to work from? Is there something healthy that you can leverage to work towards a relationship, where there's some ease, trust, and joy? Was there ever ease, trust, and joy? Really think about it. Are you willing to do some therapy together? And let me say this, especially with cheating, what I find is that people are, someone cheats, they're like, let's go to couples. I don't love couples therapy. I've turned away many a couple in this instance because it's some individual work that has to happen usually before the couples, or at least concurrently. I think all parties need to do their own therapy individually when it comes to big betrayals. But after some individual work, I think it's super helpful to do a few sessions together. I am trained in a kind of therapy called structural family therapy, where originated by Salvador Minuchin, who's like the father of family therapy. I was lucky enough to study with them in New York City. And so I'm trained to work with various family members. Here in the States, that's like a thing. Like, people go, no, you can't do that. You need an individual therapist and a different couples therapist and a different family therapist and a different, that is not, there's a whole school of therapy that says that's actually the worst, because you're telling different stories in all the places, right? So I know things in a couple, if I'm working with a couple, that if then I do some individual work with each person, they can't get away with some stuff, right? Because I know what's going on. So there's ways that can be very helpful. And I have a few clients where I've met their partners. I've met with them alone. I've met with them and their mom or stepmom or dads or siblings, or, I've done all kinds of things like that. And it's again, if you're trained right, it's a wonderful, wonderful way to do the work. Because you can really get deeper because of all the kind of institutional knowledge about this family. So often I have just one session with maybe a sibling or something, and so much wonderfulness comes out because I really know the system well already, and I'm learning more. And then I can do different work maybe with my client, because now I've learned more that maybe they haven't even told me yet, or they don't even understand yet, anything like that. It's very rich work, but very few people I have found are trained in this particular therapy. But you can look it up, structural family therapy, if this is the kind you'd like to do, if you'd like to look into it, and or again, just go do individual therapy yourselves, and then maybe come back to either you can use one of the individual therapists if they're trained, or find a couples therapist and, get to work. But don't look at it as only the only option or the first option. And then number 3 is who you are in all this. So it's great. We've looked at the other person. We're thinking all these things. We've looked at the relationship before the betrayal, and we're thinking all these things. And now this last variable is you and what you need, what you bring to the table at this particular point in your life. Okay. There's some things we can handle and some things we can't. So it might be that you found out that your partner has been drinking alcoholically or doing drugs when they said they were sober, or clean. And you just found this out. But you got 3 kids together, you've been married for 20 years, it's not like you're just going to leave or maybe you do, but it's not such an easy go, right? Even though everyone's maybe telling you to do that, you have to think of where you are. And we can't always do the quote unquote perfect thing. Not that I think the perfect thing is leaving, but we can't always do the healthiest thing in a moment. And I need you to have some love for yourself, some self-compassion as you work through that. So there are a few questions and areas really that I want you to think about for yourself. So yeah, that first one is, where is your mental health at right now as you're dealing with this? Do you feel strong and like you're making healthy decisions for yourself? Is that happening? Right? And related to this, where's your self-esteem at right now? If I asked you on a scale of 1 to 6, 6 is really high self-esteem, 1 is really low, where would you put yourself? Always use a scale of 1 to 6, remember, because you have to come down on one side or the other. Gosh, does any part of you feel like you deserve what happened, or that it was your fault somehow? Is this related to your own childhood dysfunction and what you think you deserve? Breaks my heart. But it could be there, and you need to do that work and look at that. The big big thing, of course, is, you know what I'm going to say, is to identify your boundaries. What have your boundaries been with this person? If this has happened before, what are you planning to do differently this time? Have you set clear expectations with this person and your standards and what they are, and followed through? I will say it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. A boundary. It's not a boundary. It's not a boundary to tell someone how you think or what you want or how they upset you, how it makes you feel when they do something. Not a boundary. It's not a boundary to tell someone to stop doing something. Not a boundary. A boundary has a response that you will take if what you ask for isn't respected. That is the most important part of the boundary. So if you tell someone, you know, if you're lying to me, then, and try not to get too draconian, you know, don't say, if you ever lie to me again, I'll leave you, because you might not. You don't know what's going to be later. So, and in my experience, most people don't. They don't leave right away. So don't make threats. This isn't about threatening, but you can say, if you lie to me again, or whatever the thing is, you're going to need to leave. Maybe you live together, and you can say, you're going to need to leave our home for a period of time, and you're going to have to figure that out. Like, I won't live with you. And if they refuse to leave, by the way, if it does happen and they refuse to leave, you have to leave. You have to leave. You're not a victim, remember? You have to follow through on what you agreed to. And again, if they don't agree to it or they don't respect it, it's up to you to respect it. So you can move out for a period of time. You can leave for a period of time. Or at the very least, you know, I have people say, oh, we can't afford it. Move into another room. You have to do, or move that person into another room. You have to do something that's, you have to, like, again, the boundary has a response. I don't call it a consequence, because you're not punishing someone. You are upholding your own self-esteem, your own self-respect, right? And you are following through on what you said you do. That's a boundary. You got to get better at those. Again, get the book, listen to the podcast, do something, but you have to work on that. It's why I wrote a book about it. It's because it's always the answer to everything you're looking for, is to be able to make and hold boundaries. The other thing I want you to think about is this a pattern with the people in your life in some way, like where you feel let down or betrayed consistently. Can you look back? Oh yeah, I've had 4 relationships and I always get cheated on, or I'm always betrayed by friends, or you can't trust women, you know, they always betray. If that's not, no, you can trust women and you can trust men. There's many good trusting, you're trusting me, I think, right now. You know, there's people you can trust. The issue is for you to look at yourself. Wow, again, you're not at fault. It is not to blame yourself. Don't come for me, because I'm never going to say that to you. But what is it? You're the common denominator here in that way, not in a blame way, but in a way of thinking like, wow, what is that? Is it related to your attachment style? Is it really, like, what is it? So again, get into therapy if you can't figure it out. Do some therapy. Do something where you're really looking at yourself. Okay? Something we look at yourself. And that is really it. You're going to look at the 3 things together, not one of them, not 2 of them, but all 3. And that's how you get to your answer of whether you can heal this relationship. Trust me, maybe write it all down, however you want to do it. But I've done this for years with clients, and this is what works. They come back and they're like, oh, I got it, you know, and they can see where the cracks are. They can see what's really going on. Or at the very least, they'll say, well, let me keep doing therapy and working on this, and then I'll revisit it. I'm like, all right, let's do that. You know, because you might start with one of these pieces, but know that you have to ultimately take into account all 3. All right. So, you know, at the end of the day, a betrayal is a wake-up call in whatever relationship we're talking about. It means something has to change. It does not mean that you have no choice but to leave your partner or cut off your best friend or only speak to your mom at the holidays. It doesn't mean that it's time. It doesn't mean that. What it does mean is that it's time to have some real conversations and get clear about next steps. And again, that might include everything I just mentioned, right? And again, there's a healthy way to cut people off. I talk about it in my book. I also have a episode of the podcast about healthy ways to cut people off, so you can listen to that. But if you are going to cut, it should be a healthy way. But you can't keep doing what you've been doing. You know, if you always do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. You've got to do new things if you want a new relationship with this person, with yourself, right? With anything like that. That's really where it is now. I have done other episodes, by the way, related to cheating, if that's really what you're looking for. You know, can you ever trust your partner again if they cheated? Is one of them the do's and don'ts if your partner cheated? And I think there's another one. But I think it's like how to rebuild a relationship after cheating. But I will link to all of those episodes on, again, all the places I said before. I also want to remind y'all that I'm starting a Patreon in January of 2025, where you can listen to the podcast without ads and have access to moi. We'll be doing I have to figure out if I can do those live or not, but eventually I'll do them live for sure, because I'm going to enjoy that so much, because it's the hardest thing about the podcast is that I don't get to talk to you directly. But how great would it be to listen to talk about a podcast episode and then to be on there live with like, well, this doesn't work because of that, you know, and I could answer it right there. How much fun would that be? So there'll be different levels maybe where I do that once you have no ads plus one of those kind of Ask Dr. Abby kind of things. And then there'll be another level where maybe I do that a few times a month or a couple times a month, and where there's some other goodies, you know, some extra maybe worksheets or videos, or I've been doing some audios, like some little visualizations, really brief ones that I can't wait to have you check out. So there's going to be some really fun stuff in there. At the different levels, and you can decide. But it's going to be a great way to support me. I really want to have more access to you and you to me, and that way I want to help people, you know, even more. And so I'm excited, and, you know, being able to support myself in that fashion would be incredible, and I could just do more for you. It would be amazing. So I hope you're going to be wanting to support me in that way. If you get value from the podcast, that would be huge. That's it for now. All right. I hope this was helpful today. I really want you to build a trusting heart because you trust yourself, because you trust your own boundaries, that you will leave something that's unhealthy for you. And that's what we're always building. It's not about trusting other people so much, although that's good, but it's ultimately that you trust yourself enough to know if someone does hurt you, that you have the power to leave, that it doesn't have to affect your self-esteem, and that you're you no matter what else happens. And I love you, and you are worthy of all these things if no one has told you today. You are worthy of connection, ease, joy, all the things I talk about, absolutely, with yourself, when you're alone, and when you're with other people. All right. Mwah. Have an amazing week. Thank you. Thank you for hanging out with me. You know I love it, and I'll talk to you real soon.